Stop drinking milk after 60, as it's damaging your bones. I just read a study that followed over 100,000 people for 20 years. The group that drank the most milk had the most broken bones and the highest death rate. When I first read that study, I sat with it for a long time, because like most doctors, I spent years telling my patients over 60 to drink more milk. It felt like the safest advice in the world. Now I know better. And by the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly what to drink instead. A specific recipe that delivers more usable calcium than milk without any of the hidden damage. But first, you need to understand what that study actually found and why it changes everything. I'm Dr. Andrew M.D. Wolfe. With over 20 years in internal and geriatric medicine, I help adults over 60 protect their bone health. Today, why regular milk after 60 may not be the best choice, and what to drink instead. Let's start with the research. In 2014, a team led by Dr. Carl Mikkelsen published one of the largest nutrition studies ever conducted. They tracked 61,433 women for 20 years and 45,339 men for about 11 years. All from Sweden. All carefully monitored with repeated diet questionnaires and medical records. Here's what they found. Women who drank 3 or more glasses of milk per day had a 93% higher risk of dying during the study compared to women who drank less than 1 glass. Let me say that again. 93% higher mortality. And the fractures? More milk did not reduce fractures at all. In fact, for every extra glass of milk a woman drank per day, her risk of a hip fracture went up by 9%. Not down, up. The men showed a similar pattern, just slightly weaker. More milk still meant more death and no fewer broken bones. Now I know what you might be thinking. Maybe the people drinking more milk were already sick. Maybe they had weak bones and were trying to compensate. The researchers accounted for that. They controlled for dozens of variables. And in 2023, a massive follow-up analysis from Cambridge University combined data from 13 different studies covering nearly 500,000 people. The conclusion was the same. For every 200 grams of milk consumed daily, hip fracture risk went up by 7%. At 400 grams a day, which is less than 2 tall glasses, the risk peaked at 15% higher than people who drank no milk at all. In my practice, when I share these numbers with patients, the room goes quiet. Because this contradicts everything we've been told since childhood. So the obvious question is why? Why would a drink loaded with calcium make bones weaker? This is where it gets fascinating. And honestly, this is the part most doctors never explain. The answer comes down to a sugar hiding inside every glass of milk. It's called D-galactose. When you drink milk, your body breaks down the milk sugar lactose into 2 smaller sugars. One is glucose. The other is D-galactose. Now, in babies and children, D-galactose is used for brain development, and it's processed easily. But after 60, your body cannot clear this sugar efficiently anymore. The excess D-galactose builds up and triggers something very damaging. Massive oxidative stress and chronic inflammation throughout your entire body. Here's how I explain it to my patients. Think of rust forming inside a pipe. That's essentially what's happening to your cells. This oxidative stress kills the cells that build new bone. They're called osteoblasts. And at the same time, it supercharges the cells that tear bone down, called osteoclasts. So the very glass of milk you're drinking to protect your bones is quietly accelerating their destruction from the inside. The Swedish researchers confirmed this in blood tests. Older adults who drank the most milk had significantly higher levels of 2 dangerous markers. One was a compound called 8-iso-PGF2-alpha, which is a gold standard indicator of severe oxidative stress. The other was interleukin-6, one of the body's main inflammation signals. Both of these directly accelerate bone loss. And this brings us to something that baffled scientists for decades. It's called the calcium paradox, and it proves this isn't just one study. Look at the global map. The countries that drink the most milk and consume the most calcium, the United States, Sweden, Australia, and Norway, have the highest rates of osteoporosis and hip fractures on the planet. Meanwhile, countries in Asia, Africa, and South America where people drink very little milk have significantly stronger bones and far fewer fractures. For years, nobody could explain this. Now the D-galactose mechanism fills in that missing piece perfectly. But here's the critical detail that makes this even more interesting. And this changed how I counsel every single patient. Not all dairy is dangerous. In that same Swedish study, when they looked at people who ate fermented dairy, yogurt, cheese, and kefir, the results flipped completely. Every daily serving of fermented dairy reduced the risk of death and hip fractures by 10 to 15%. The 2023 Cambridge analysis confirmed this. Yogurt lowered hip fracture risk by 15% per serving. Cheese lowered it by 19% per serving, but liquid milk raised it. Why? Because during fermentation, bacteria pre-digest the lactose and almost completely eliminate the D-galactose before you ever take a sip. So you get all the calcium, all the protein, none of the inflammatory sugar. The fermentation literally rescues the milk. So now let's talk about what you should actually be drinking. And I want you to pay close attention to number 4, because it contains the single most important bone secret almost nobody knows about. Drink number 1, Kefir. If you only make one change after watching this, make it this one. Kefir is fermented milk made with special cultures of bacteria and yeast. It has virtually zero D-galactose. It has more calcium than regular milk, more protein too. And the fermentation process creates unique peptides, small protein fragments that have been clinically shown to directly stimulate bone-building cells. A randomized clinical trial on postmenopausal women with osteoporosis found that 6 months of daily kefir significantly improved hip bone density beyond what calcium supplements alone could achieve. In my opinion, kefir is the single best dairy product for anyone over 60. Drink number 2, matcha green tea. This one surprised me when I first reviewed the research. Matcha contains extremely high concentrations of a compound called EGCG. This compound does 2 things at the cellular level. It stimulates the growth of bone-building cells and simultaneously suppresses the formation of bone-destroying cells. The Mediterranean Osteoporosis study found that drinking up to 3 cups of green tea daily was associated with a 30% reduction in hip fracture risk. Even 1 cup lowered risk by about 9%. Because matcha uses the entire ground tea leaf instead of just a brew, you get dramatically higher concentrations of these protective compounds. Drink number 3, fortified soy milk. For those avoiding dairy entirely, unsweetened fortified soy milk is the only plant-based milk the Dietary Guidelines for Americans recognizes as nutritionally equivalent to cow's milk. It provides about 7 to 8 grams of complete protein per cup, plus naturally occurring compounds called isoflavones. After menopause, when estrogen drops sharply and bone loss accelerates, these isoflavones can partially bind to estrogen receptors on bone cells and slow that breakdown. One important tip though. The calcium in plant milks settles at the bottom of the carton. If you don't shake it thoroughly every single time, you're leaving most of the calcium behind as sludge. I tell all my patients this because almost nobody does it. Now, number 4. This is what I saved for the end because it's the missing piece that ties everything together. Most people think calcium is the only thing bones need. It's not. And this misunderstanding is why millions of people take calcium supplements and still break bones. Your bones are actually made of 2 parts. A hard mineral layer, that's the calcium, and a flexible protein framework underneath, made mostly of collagen. Without that collagen framework, calcium has nothing to hold on to. It's like pouring concrete with no steel rebar. It looks solid on a scan but shatters on impact. And here's the part almost nobody talks about. Even when calcium does get absorbed, your body has no idea where to put it unless one specific vitamin is present. That vitamin is K2, specifically a form called MK7, found in the highest concentrations in a Japanese fermented food called natto. Vitamin K2 activates a protein called osteocalcin, which literally grabs calcium from your blood and locks it directly into your bones. Without K2, that calcium floats around and deposits in your arteries instead. This is why some studies link calcium supplements to heart attacks. It's not the calcium, it's the missing K2. So here's the daily drink I now recommend to my patients over 60. It replaces the morning glass of milk completely. 1 cup of kefir, or fortified soy milk, as your base. That gives you 300 milligrams of bioavailable calcium and 8 to 10 grams of protein with 0 D-galactose damage. 1 scoop of hydrolyzed collagen peptides stirred in. This provides the specific amino acids your bone-building cells need to construct that collagen framework. A few drops of liquid vitamin K2, the MK7 form, to activate osteocalcin and direct calcium straight into your bones and away from your arteries. 1 scoop of magnesium glycinate powder, because without magnesium your body cannot even activate vitamin D. And without active vitamin D, you absorb almost no calcium from anything you eat. And finally, half a banana for potassium, plus a pinch of turmeric or fresh ginger for their powerful anti-inflammatory effects. Blended. Drink it every morning. That single glass addresses every single mechanism we discussed today. It gives your bones the minerals, the collagen framework, the routing vitamins, and the anti-inflammatory protection that a glass of milk never could. Now I want to be very clear about something. I'm not saying all dairy is poison. Yogurt, cheese, and especially kefir are genuinely protective. What I am saying, based on the weight of the current evidence, is that drinking multiple glasses of plain liquid milk every day after 60 is not the bone-saving strategy we once believed it was. The science has moved forward, and our habits need to move with it. Please talk to your own doctor before making major dietary changes, especially if you take blood thinners, because vitamin K2 can interact with those medications. Your doctor knows your specific situation best. If this changed how you think about milk, please share this video with someone you love who still drinks it every morning thinking it's protecting their bones. It might be the most important thing you share with them this year. Subscribe and hit the bell. I'm putting out new videos every week breaking down the science behind what actually keeps your body strong after 60. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.